letting you talk. Like,
Oh, yes.
I just let you talk tonight. I don't ask a question, should I?
No.
And I can just let you talk.
You have to anchor us.
No, I just want to let you talk, right?
Yes.
And before I begin with the talk,
Can I have a problem that for
already we've not even started Maliba.
that for all the years we actually have been friends, you literally have refused to call me Maliba, yet that is my first name.
But it's Ano Maliba.
No, it's not. You know much better than that. Everybody else calls me Maliba for a reason. That's my first name. Why?
No,
why?
this guy wants to take me back to the village. I'll not accept.
Why we actually sit here and then he decides to go with a convention that is only known to other people? Quite unfair, but fine.
I will maintain
Yes.
that it's called Ano Maliba.
Yes.
For the purpose of the conversation tonight.
Yes.
Hii majina tunaitana huko nje tuachane nayo.
Tuachane nayo.
Anyway, gentlemen, karibuni sana. I want to begin with something very interesting. Our top story tonight is about the new broadcast codes that were issued by CA Communication Authority today.
Yeah.
They were signed by David Mugonyi. Interestingly, when I got to the media, he was getting out. He went to Parliament, from Parliament, the DP's office, from DP's office to the President's office, and then right now he's at CA. But one of the things that they are trying with this, and they're going to force the media houses to implement this, is new regulations. So, for example, they outline the coverage, advertisement, the content. They've even talked about election coverage already, and it says that the use of news flash, so breaking news, before the beginning of an advert will be banned. I don't know why, and of course, they talk about interviews that are spontaneous. Like, I can't just ambush Maliba on the street, for example, and ask Maliba important question now that he's a strategic advisor. Gentlemen, I'll begin with you because they respond from the party. I'll begin with you.
Yeah.
Looking at these regulations, I know you have read them.
Yeah.
What really concerns you? Because there's a lot that concerns the media, and I bet once they are gazetted, we're moving to court. But tell me what concerns you.
What concerns me is that there is no business the government have in controlling the media. Media should self-regulate, because there's enough structures to do those things. Why is Kenya Kwanza concerned about controlling the media? That question should be asked. In fact, touching on the election, they say democracy dies in darkness. Tell me a country where judiciary and the media have no freedom, and I'll show you a state that has got what is called dictatorship. Remember that before then, there used to be one media house called KBC, where if the news was to take 30 minutes,
okay,
yes. 15 minutes, if not 20, was dedicated to one person.
The government of the day.
Not even the government, one person to cook rice. Then after that, then some people will just be mentioned quickly in a hurry, then they leave. Everything was about today he was in Kabarak, today he was praying, then today he made so and so, then today he was taking out the cows. And I think we are moving there if not careful. Because I think that William Ruto has been in the media a lot. I think Uhuru was not in the media as he is. Kibaki even much less. And I think that trying to control the media is one way they have discovered. Like you see, for example, news gag, the one that comes to some of the media houses. You guys have some serious discussion here. They want to ensure they give you a script, that if you follow that script, you cannot educate Kenyans. Because these people are not only working on civic education people are giving, like people like us who come here, but actually they're even killing the education system. People should not be informed. That's what they want. They want people to remain in darkness. But I can tell them, I'm not even worried, because the emergence of digital media will actually be able to make them difficult to control. Nowadays, media is in somebody's phone. People can even say Fred Media House, and they go viral. So I'm thinking that just the way they're trying to change some things in the House, in Finance Act that cannot work, they're also trying to change here. But my concern is, what is their intention?
What is the government's intention?
What do they fear the media of? And we only talk about the first stage, which is the public sector, the second estate, which is the private sector, the third estate, which is the NGO, and the fourth estate, which is the media. If you kill the fourth estate, it will be very difficult for things to balance out.
Okay. What is more concerning is the fact that the first act that I remember since David Mugonyi went to CAK, this cannot be his first act, having worked in the media, because I don't remember any, unless Maliba, you remember any other act by David, because this is the fourth. It's called the fourth edition of Programming Code for Broadcasting Services. The fourth.
First of all, it's not very proper to actually say that CA can be synonymized with David Mugonyi. CA is an institution, quite an anchored institution that has been around for some time. In any case, I'll actually say that it's one of the properly anchored institutions you'll actually find around. Not just by the capital they are able to raise, but even how they are able to deal with quite a complex sector, which is the media. So synonymizing, calling the code a David Mugonyi Act is actually to rain on the parade of the professionals who work at CA.
I said it's the first act after he became the Director General that is coming out with his signature.
So where he's been, there's been a lot of course working behind. There are a lot of board meetings that happen. There are policies stuff that happen. This is just one of those that is actually public facing that we are seeing. But be that as it is, I do not think that subsidiary legislation can actually threaten the place of the Constitution. There's no need for fear. The days when people would sell the fear, the kind that Professor is selling, that we are going into dark days, that kind of snake oil will sell in the days of old. But now, with the Constitution 2010, we are way beyond that. There are things you can't walk us back. You can't walk this country back away from the democracy we have. Things like Article 33, freedom of expression, which speaks to that, and then Article 34, freedom of the media. Those are things you can't walk away from. I know that we are used, it was a rite of passage that at some point lazima upambane na serikali. And now that the days of kupambana na serikali have been done away with because the things that used to work like the rites of passage have been done away with. If you want to demonstrate today, you just tell people, I'll be doing it this way and then this is how it works out. So you can't walk this back. The programming code, of course, is definitely geared towards healing a certain harm or some mischief that has been there. So what we actually need to ask is what is the mischief to address or the harm that has actually been there. So then, of course, you have got the Media Council of Kenya because, again, for the media, this is where self-regulation works quite well. So the Media Council of Kenya is there. They've actually been doing so well. This is something that will actually be subjected to stakeholder engagement, public participation, and more. It's not a place, I do not think that we are already at a place where we can actually start talking about the sky is falling. This business of just anything showing up from CA and guys are like, the sky is falling, that cannot be the way a mature media can actually be dealing with such. Because we are at a place where we know that we have got a very robust judiciary. Again, Ken, just wait, we've got a very robust judiciary. And that the judiciary has stopped even the president and the government in times where, for example, it's a tooth that's too long in growth. So we are a country that cannot be having this particular conversation. A robust judiciary that knows how to stand its ground, a people who know what their rights are. The media itself has actually come from so far, it's so mature that it cannot be moved away around with this. So this programming code, I don't want to even call it subsidiary legislation. Those guidelines at the tail end. So it has nothing on the Constitution 2010. Those are administrative stuff.
I'll ask you this. This is a public notice on the implementation of the 4th edition. Notifying the public of the intended implementation of the 4th edition of the broadcasting programming codes. And you're telling me, relax, this thing will go through.
It's intended, in your own words, it's a notice to the public.
We intend to.
We intend to.
Exactly.
Do you know what that is doing? It's inviting public participation in the conversations that we are having. We cannot start running and saying that the sky is falling. It has not fallen. We are having a conversation. This will actually be dealt with at different levels. So let us have a conversation, number one, that is objective. Number two,
I can hear him. Yes.
No.
I can hear him.
You guys can't run away from this.
I can hear you, yes.
We don't, again, we cannot have some sectors that are treated like sacred cows. We've said we are not going to treat politicians and leaders as special. There should be no sector that somehow we have to scatter around and walk on eggshells when we talk about them. So now that this is there, for example, have we engaged them and asked publicly what is the harm? And if this is commensurate with what they're trying to address? So walking around, let's not really run. When talking about elections, do we really need to wait until 2027 when people will rush and say, they've passed this because they want to rig an election? We are doing it now so that then if somebody has got a problem, you can go to court. We can engage on it now. I want to actually repeat this, that election is a process. It's not an event. So whatever they are doing here is something that has been reflected upon from the past.
Okay. With what aim? You said it's a mischief. I also think it's a mischief. But let me go to Prof.
Ken, no, there's something which is a big misnomer called public participation. You know, public participation cannot start after a bill being drafted. I used to work as a lobbyist in Brussels, where the Center for European Commission is. And you see that people who draft any bill or act have more say than someone reading it. Do you know that one word can have 10 meanings? So which one are you picking? So the guys who are drafting those things have already implanted mischief there. According to us, the world-class means of doing public participation is to start by bringing people together to discuss why are we doing this.
But do we have public participation for accord of conduct? We don't. That's why Maliba is going wrong. That's why I say I can hear him. There's no public participation.
I'm trying to tell you, even if you do public participation, the thing has been drafted. I put a meal on the table and say, now we're eating ugali and skuma. Then what do you have to say?
Add onions and tomatoes and something like that, Maliba.
This thinking, the thinking by Professor is quite...
Most, no. Just give it time. Most wars are lost before they begin. Most wars. Even Jesus said, before you go to war, know how many soldiers you have. Now, Kenya Kwanza knows that they have...
For the verse. Okay.
No, Kenya Kwanza has got all the weapons to make this go through. First of all, they have a budget. For you as a member of the public, when they are going to say public participation taking place in Serena, who is going to pay your fare? Who is paying your allowances? For them, they have the budget, even the drafters. For you, if you want to do this drafting, you have to go, for example, the Media Council has to go and get a budget to work on how to address all those issues. According to me, this for me is not the right way. Now, are the opposition involved in the drafting of this one? Yet election has got many stakeholders. Election has got the opposition. Election has to get observers. Election has got the media. There's a lot more to this than someone can just simply tell us we should not fear. In fact, do you know why people are fearing? Kenya Kwanza has never won the trust of Kenyans. And that's why you cannot trust them to change the constitution.
How would you say that? And Kenyans voted them in. How would you say they've never won the trust of Kenyans?
Fertilizer, fake thing. Everything is fake.
But you said has never. You know, that's conclusive.
Kenya Kwanza government. They became a government after the election.
So you're saying the government? From
day one, they stood in Kasarani and told us that they found dilapidated economy, isn't it?
Okay.
So was that true? Secondly, sometimes from day one, lies began day one.
Okay.
And lies are continuing until today. And we have to end it.
Okay, let me listen to Mali. We need to end this topic. Yes.
First of all, it's important that we do not allow what I call a debate sprawl. He's now talking about fertilizer. He's all over the place. And you know, with that kind of wildfire, you might not actually do justice to a topic. So first of all, he is a governance expert, and he would know about what a policy cycle is. There's the origination and where it's starting. So if a draft cannot be the basis upon which then we are engaging, it means that it's not even been thought about. Because if you were to truncate the policy-making process, let me reduce the 7 or 8 processes to just 3, then you'll be talking about the 3 Ps. You're talking about the problem, you're talking about the politics around it, and then you're talking about the program. So the problem, here you're talking about the data. What is it? So from this data, then you can actually do what? Get the indicators that informs on how you solve, because for every problem you have got politics around it. So the data that you get from this informs how you solve the politics, and the way of doing it is through a program. So just if you are to reduce that to 3. So there is nothing wrong with having a draft that is actually going out that we intend to do this. So why are they notifying the public? So that there is input. Somehow it has to start, the policy cycle. So you can't say that somehow we must have this conversation without a draft. So, that's a very difficult way.
This is not a draft.
Second way.
Intention?
Second way.
What's the intention? Let me tell us.
Again, that is a reactionary question. What is the intention? Because somehow in this particular country, everything is suspicious.
But that's how you started, Maliba.
So
that's how you started.
Now, moving very fast.
Yes.
You know, we are at a place where everything in this country, somehow, you know, I talk about people have not earned the trust and everything else. You know, you are the only one who trusts Professor. That's why you have him on this show. He's not elected. But Kenya Kwanza is actually elected. They've been sworn in. And they were sworn in during the day. They were voted in during the day. They campaigned during the day. So Prof is trying to look for an election, or rather he will be campaigning in future and become something else. So at this particular point, if there's anyone Kenyans trust, it's actually Kenya Kwanza. Because they voted for William Ruto, they voted for Kenya Kwanza. He is here saying that no one trusts.
That is completely incorrect.
So
trust is not measured by election.
So again,
we have elected thieves.
Again, you cannot have trust.
He has a right of response.
No, I have not even finished. You see, this is the problem. You see,
yes.
We do not have, when we talk about trust deficiency, it cannot be on the scales of Professor Ogolla here. Because number one, as a human being, he has got his bias, he has got his privilege, he has got his prejudices. So his alone cannot be the scale upon which we actually talk about trust deficiency. Secondly, if we were going to base on anything, it's about the law, it's about what exists, the conventions that make us as a country. So Professor Ogolla alone cannot be and by the way, when he says that he's speaking for Kenyans, which Kenyans elected him? Which Kenyans have sent him to actually come and speak here? Out of the 55 million of us, Professor does not know more than 10,000 people.
But does he have a right as Kenyan to give his...
He has got a right to express his opinion, but he has no right to speak for Kenyans. At least when I sit here, I can speak for the party that I work for. But he cannot speak for Kenyans because Kenyans didn't send him. I cannot even pretend to speak for Kenyans.
Okay. Prof, right of response.
I think that I don't want even to respond to some of the things because they just look a little bit personal. Because when someone says to me that there's no one who trusts me, seriously speaking, how can you say that no one who trusts me? I am among the most trusted people. I am a governance expert. I can be called to train a board, and many people, you cannot call Gachaga to train a board of an organization. You cannot call Ichungwa even if they are trusted. We look, in fact, these are numbers. The trust measure, barometer, the least trusted people, a survey done in all countries, a government official scores 36%. Isn't it? The most trusted person according to trust barometer is a professor. The world scores professors highest. Ken, you go to school, you go to your home now and give your son instruction, and the teacher gives a different one. They'll take the one for the teacher. This is true. So coming here to tell us that professors are not trusted, they're among the most honest people. I'm a scholar. I say the truth. So in trust between me and the politician, if you give a survey between me and the politician,
you'll score higher.
I'll score higher. That's the truth. So if you can hold yours, Maliba, that's a story for another day. For me, I wanted just to tell Maliba something which is very important.
Yeah, because we need to
even for Kenya topic. Kwanza.
Yes.
You cannot tell us that public participation begins with a draft. BBI never began with a draft. They went out to look at the issues that are affecting Kenya, isn't it? NADCO was about calling people to bring their views, isn't it? 2010 Constitution is talking about people went to Bomas. People presented different things is when they had a draft. So when you're telling us that things began from a draft, it is a misnomer, total misnomer. And I can tell you even at home, you cannot tell your wife now, this is the draft of how we want to live at home. Now let's do public participation. I'm sure that marriage won't work. There must be a way on which people respectfully engage citizens. Yes, there must be,
but
yes.
there's participation.
Yeah, so it cannot start from a draft.
Okay.
It starts from gathering views.
Okay.
We want to go for lunch.
Okay.
How do you want it?
How do we end this topic?
I would like, for me, this is how I would like to end it. First of all, the most trusted person is a mother. Motherhood is the best job on earth. It's only second to religious leaders. Now, the academy and the academia generally is and has always been thought to be a nursery of reason. But you and I know, including Professor knows here, that the academia has actually become a nursery of isms and a lot of extremes. So it cannot, therefore, be the sole place for where we actually talk about that can be the source of trust. If there is any way, but when I spoke about trust, I spoke about in relation to Kenya Kwanza, that he actually said that Kenyans don't trust it. I said, these Kenyans voted for this particular government. They did not vote for you. So if there is anyone, because we have got a scale upon which we can actually refer to, and here, this is universally acceptable in our situation, that the person you trust and the person you think will actually work for you going forward is the person you vote for.
Okay.
So there is a demonstrable process to that end.
So, gentlemen,
every other thing he has actually said is actually very good theory.
You have succeeded in taking us away from muzzling the media and this
But let me
broadcast
just
gone. I need to go to another topic.
I'll just give you.
Yes.
And being a scholar, there's what you call a Delman Trust Barometer. All the factors are there. I don't speak theory. There's what you call a Delman Trust Barometer. Even the one of 2024 shows that politicians are the least trusted in society. As you go, you find a CEO, regulators, industry experts, then you go to a professor. That's the truth of the matter.
Okay.
And I want to say...
That is one tool. Who is that? You actually...
I mean, this is based
What's
on
the name?
research.
It's one tool.
It's based on research.
Just go back
Which
to the
one
name.
is yours?
It's one tool.
Guys.
One tool.
Guys, this is not about who can be trusted and who cannot be trusted. I just needed to understand what happens to this code of ethics. I'm going to call you back, gentlemen, to talk about this. If there's no public participation, Maliba, I know where you live. Prof, I know where you live. I'll call you, I'll look for you, so that we discuss this finally when it's concluded. But from where I sit, I doubt if these regulations, right, this implementation of programming codes are going to be subjected to a public participation.
Can I ask you, Ken, a question? Just on the
No,
same.
you're not supposed to ask me a question.
Well, I'll just ask, just allow me, for purposes of this particular conversation. Is there any process in this country that is above public participation or court action? There is none. So these regulations, that's what I'm actually saying, we cannot start running around saying that the sky is falling.
Okay.
If these regulations have got any challenge, the people, the media, including CA themselves, can actually go back to it. They are just regulations, for heaven's sake. I said that up above there, you have got Article 34. If these regulations are in contravention of Article 34, they cannot stand.
Okay.
But I said, before we jump that particular gun, can we ask what is the harm these regulations seek to heal? Because what is being lost in this particular discussion is one thing, that no one is talking about the harm the code is trying to actually address. Somehow we don't want to address that. We are speculative and going forward to talk about some mischief, conjecture. We have actually started doing abracadabra here, totally getting into spaces that is not our own. We have become magicians here, thinking about tomorrow that has not come yet.
Trust me, Maliba, this one I'll tell you for a fact. There is a mischief they're trying to address. We'll find out.
There is harm they're trying to heal.
There is mischief.
You guys are saying mischief that will come.
What's the intention?
That might come.
This is
That
mischievous.
might be an intended policy outcome, but at the moment we need to look at the harm it's trying to heal.
Thank you, Maliba. Let's talk about nurses and doctors.
Yes.
Nurses refusing to join the strike. They're saying, we began the conversation, right? A doctor is saying we are not going back to the hospitals, and then clinical officers joining, and then we have laboratory technicians saying we are jogging to do this. So tonight we are told by the head of public service, Felix Koske, that they don't have the 12 billion shillings that is needed to take some 1,200 plus interns into the job market. I sat here with the CS Health, and she sat where Maliba is standing. Coincidentally, you just decided